My name is David Chun, and I'm about to tell you the strangest, most unsettling story of my life. It's about the day I saw my mother smile for the first time in 8 years, and about the person who made it happen, someone who shouldn't have existed at all. Hey everyone, thanks for being here. Before I get into this, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? How's your day going? And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please do it now. Trust me, you're going to want to follow this story to the end, because what I'm about to tell you will shake you. I'm a tech billionaire. I know how that sounds, like I'm bragging, but it's important for you to understand who I was before all this happened. I built my company from nothing, sold it for $3.2 billion when I was 35. Now I'm 38, and I spend most of my time managing investments and trying to figure out what to do with more money than I can ever spend. My mother, Linda, is 67 years old. 8 years ago, she had a massive stroke that left her paralyzed on the right side and unable to speak. The doctors said she could understand everything we said to her, but she couldn't respond. She was locked inside her own body. I hired the best nurses money could buy, set her up in a beautiful room in my mansion in California, made sure she had everything she needed. But here's the truth I'm ashamed to admit. I barely visited her, maybe once a month, sometimes less. I told myself I was busy, that my work was important, that she was being taken care of by professionals who knew what they were doing better than I did. But really, I was a coward. I couldn't stand seeing her like that. My mother used to be so full of life, laughing, cooking, telling stories. And now she just sat in that wheelchair, staring at nothing, drool sometimes running down her chin. It broke my heart, so I stayed away. Everything changed 3 weeks ago. I came home early from a business trip. My assistant had scheduled a meeting at the house, and I arrived around 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. As I walked through the hallway toward my office, I passed my mother's room. The door was slightly open, and I heard something that stopped me cold. Laughter. Not just any laughter. My mother's laughter. I hadn't heard that sound in 8 years. My heart started pounding. I pushed the door open slowly. What I saw didn't make sense. My mother was sitting in her wheelchair by the window. Sunlight was streaming in, and she was smiling. Actually smiling. Her whole face lit up in a way I'd forgotten was possible. And there was a woman sitting next to her. A young woman, maybe late 20s, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. She was feeding my mother soup, one spoonful at a time, and talking to her softly. "There you go, Mrs. Chun," the woman said gently. "Nice and slow. That's it." My mother made a sound. Not words, but a happy sound. Her eyes were bright and focused on the woman's face. I stood there frozen, watching. The woman glanced up and saw me. She didn't look surprised or guilty, just smiled. "Mr. Chun," she said calmly, "you're home early. Who are you?" I asked. "I'm Emma, your new home care nurse. I started 2 weeks ago." I had no idea what she was talking about. I personally approved all staff hires. I would have remembered hiring someone new. "I didn't hire you," I said. Emma's smile didn't waver. "Your assistant did. She said you were too busy to handle the interview yourself, so she asked me to start immediately. I hope that's okay." My assistant, Kelly, had been with me for 6 years. She knew better than to hire someone without my approval. But looking at my mother's face, actually happy for the first time in years, I couldn't bring myself to be angry. How did you get her to smile?" I asked. Emma shrugged. "I just talked to her. Treat her like a person instead of a patient. She understands everything, you know. She just can't respond the way she wants to." "I know that," I said, feeling defensive. "Do you?" Emma looked at me with these dark, knowing eyes. Because most people forget. They stop talking to people who can't talk back. The accusation stung because it was true. Over the next few days, I started paying more attention to my mother's care. Emma came every day at noon and stayed until 6 p.m. During that time, my mother was transformed. She was engaged, present, almost like her old self, just trapped in a broken body. Emma read to her, played music, did gentle physical therapy, fed her with patience and kindness. And my mother responded. She made sounds, moved her left hand to point at things. Her eyes followed Emma everywhere. It was beautiful, but something about it felt wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Emma was professional, kind, clearly good at her job. But there was something in the way she looked at me sometimes, something cold behind the warm smile. and there were small things that didn't add up, like how she seemed to know exactly what my mother wanted before my mother could communicate it, or how she knew details about my mother's past that weren't in any medical files, or how, when I checked with Kelly about hiring Emma, Kelly insisted she'd never hired anyone, had no record of Emma at all. "I don't know who that woman is," Kelly said over the phone, sounding concerned, "but I definitely didn't hire her." That's when I realized Emma had lied to me. She wasn't hired by anyone. She had somehow inserted herself into my home, into my mother's life, and I had no idea why, or what she really wanted. All I knew was that my mother was happier than she'd been in years, and that terrified me more than anything. I didn't confront Emma right away. I know that sounds stupid. A stranger had somehow gotten into my house, was spending hours alone with my vulnerable mother, and I didn't immediately call security or the police. But when I saw my mother's face light up every time Emma walked in the room, I couldn't bring myself to do it. So instead, I did what any paranoid billionaire would do. I investigated. First, I checked the security footage. My house has cameras everywhere except the bedrooms and bathrooms. I went back to the day Emma supposedly started, 2 weeks ago, according to her. The footage showed her arriving at the front gate at exactly noon. She pressed the intercom. The gate opened. But here's the thing. There's no audio recording of who buzzed her in. And I checked with my security company. No one at my house had authorized entry that day. The system had just opened for her, like she had a code. But I never gave her one. I kept watching the footage. Day after day, Emma arrived at noon and left at 6 p.m. Always on time. Always with that calm, knowing smile. Next, I tried to find information about her. Emma was all I had. No last name. No employment agency. No references. I hired a private investigator. Gave him Emma's photo from the security footage. He called me back 3 days later. "Mr. Chun, I can't find anything on this woman. No driver's license under that name matching her face. No social security number. No digital footprint. No social media. It's like she doesn't exist." "That's impossible," I said. "Everyone exists in some database." "Not her," he said. "Whoever she is, she's a ghost." Meanwhile, Emma kept coming, kept taking care of my mother, kept making her smile. I started spending more time at home, watching them. Emma never seemed bothered by my presence. She'd greet me cheerfully, continue her work, and leave at exactly 6 p.m. One afternoon, I walked in while Emma was showing my mother old photo albums. "Oh, here's a good one," Emma said, pointing at a picture. "That's you at your wedding, right, Mrs. Chin? You looked beautiful. And that's David's father. He had such kind eyes." I froze. My father died when I was 10. That photo album had been in storage for over 20 years. I'd moved it to the mansion only 6 months ago, and it was kept in a locked cabinet in the library. "How did you get that?" I asked. Emma looked up, unfazed. "I asked Mrs. Chun if she'd like to see old photos. She indicated yes, so I looked around until I found them. They're locked up." "The cabinet was unlocked when I checked," she said calmly. "It wasn't. I'd checked it myself that morning. That night, I decided to set a trap. I called Emma into my office. "Emma, I need to be honest with you. I checked with my assistant, and she says she never hired you. I need to see your credentials. License, certifications, references." Emma sat across from me, hands folded in her lap. She didn't look nervous at all. "I don't have any of that," she said simply. "What?" "I'm not a licensed nurse. I never said I was. I said I was a home care provider. That doesn't require a license in California." She was right. Technically. "Then who are you?" I demanded. "How did you get into my house?" "Your mother let me in. My mother can't speak. She can't move. She can't authorize anything." Emma leaned forward. "Can't she?" The way she said it made my skin crawl. 2 weeks ago," Emma continued, "I was walking past your property. I felt drawn to it. I don't expect you to understand, but I felt like someone needed me here. So I came to the gate, and it opened. I walked in, found your mother's room, and she looked at me like she'd been waiting for me. That's insane. Is it?" Emma tilted her head. "Your mother has been trapped in that body for 8 years, Mr. Chin. Do you have any idea what that's like? To be fully conscious, fully aware, but completely unable to communicate? To have your own son visit once a month for 20 minutes because he can't stand to look at you?" I felt like I'd been slapped. "I visit." "You don't," Emma interrupted. You drop by out of guilt. You stand in the doorway for a few minutes, ask the nurse how she's doing, and then you leave. You've never asked your mother how she's doing. You've never sat with her. You've never tried to actually connect with her. Tears burn my eyes. She can't talk. How am I supposed to? She can communicate, Emma said firmly. You just have to pay attention. She blinks once for yes, twice for no. She moves her left hand toward things she wants. She makes sounds that mean different things if you bother to learn them. How do you know all this? Emma stood up. Because I listen. Because I treat her like a human being who still has thoughts and feelings and opinions. And you know what? She has a lot to say. About what? Emma looked at me with something like pity. About you. About how much she misses you. About how she wishes you'd stop treating her like she's already dead. After Emma left that night, I sat alone in my office for hours. Everything she'd said was true. I had abandoned my mother. Not physically. She had round-the-clock care, the best money could buy. But emotionally, I'd checked out years ago. But that didn't explain who Emma really was. Or how she'd gotten into my house. Or why she seemed to know things about my family that no stranger should know. I decided to spend the next day watching them. Really watching. Trying to understand what was happening in that room. What I discovered was so much worse than I imagined. The next day, I canceled all my meetings and stayed home. I told Emma I'd be working from my home office, which was right across the hall from my mother's room. Close enough to hear everything. Emma arrived at noon, like always. She greeted my mother warmly, helped her into a more comfortable position in her wheelchair, and started their daily routine. I left my office door open and listened. Good afternoon, Mrs. Chun, Emma said. How are you feeling today? One blink for good, two for not so good. Silence. Then I heard a single sound. My mother's way of blinking deliberately. Good, I'm glad. Let's have some lunch. I made your favorite, chicken soup with ginger. For the next 20 minutes, I heard the quiet sounds of feeding. Spoons clinking. Emma talking softly. My mother making small sounds of contentment. Then Emma said something that made me stand up from my desk. Your son is listening to us from across the hall. Would you like him to join us? How did she know I was there? I heard a single blink sound. All right, Mr. Chun, Emma called out. Your mother would like you to join us for lunch. I walked across the hall slowly, feeling caught. When I entered the room, my mother's eyes found mine immediately. And for the first time in years, I really looked at her. She wasn't just a disabled woman in a wheelchair. She was my mother, still in there, still aware, still wanting connection. Sit, Emma said, gesturing to a chair next to my mother. Have you eaten? No, I admitted. I'll get you a bowl. Emma left the room. For the first time in weeks, I was alone with my mother. I sat down, took her left hand, the one that still had some movement. Mom, I said quietly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I haven't been here. She squeezed my hand. Weak, but unmistakable. Tears ran down my face. I didn't know how to handle this. I didn't know how to talk to you. I felt so helpless. She squeezed again. Her eyes were wet too. Emma returned with a bowl of soup and handed it to me. Feed her, she said. Like I showed you. I don't know how. Yes, you do. Small spoonfuls. Let her set the pace. Talk to her while you do it. Emma stepped back, giving us space. I lifted the spoon to my mother's mouth. She opened slowly. Swallowed. Is it good? I asked. One blink. Yes. We continued like this. Me feeding her. Talking about my work, my life, stupid things I'd seen on the news. She listened, blinked responses, made sounds. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that's when I noticed something strange. Every time I looked up at Emma, she seemed slightly different. Not in an obvious way. But her face seemed to shift somehow. Younger, then older, then younger again. Her dark hair seemed to catch the light strangely, sometimes looking almost translucent. And her eyes. God, her eyes. They were dark, like before. But when the sunlight hit them just right, they looked silver. Empty. Ancient. Emma, I said slowly. What are you? She smiled. What do you think I am? I don't know. But you're not human. Not completely. My mother made a sound. Not distressed, almost like confirmation. Emma walked to the window, looked out at the garden. Your mother called for me, she said quietly. Not with words. With will. With desperate, powerful need. She's been screaming silently for 8 years, begging for someone to see her, to help her, to remind her son that she's still alive. That's not possible. Isn't it? Emma turned to face me. You're a billionaire, Mr. Chin. You've built technologies that seemed impossible 10 years ago. You've literally changed the world. But you can't accept that there are other forces in this world? Older forces. Are you saying you're… what? A ghost? An angel? I'm an answer, Emma said simply. When someone needs help desperately enough, when they call out with everything they have, sometimes something answers. I'm one of those somethings. I looked at my mother. She was watching Emma with absolute trust. How long will you stay? I asked. Until I'm not needed anymore. What does that mean? Emma walked over and placed a hand on my mother's shoulder. It means your mother doesn't need me to remind you she's here. You remember now. You see her now. My work is almost done. No, I said quickly. You can't leave. She needs you. Look how happy she is with you. She's not happy because of me, Emma said gently. She's happy because she's not alone anymore. Because someone is finally treating her like a person. You can do that now. You don't need me. That night after Emma left, I sat with my mother for 3 more hours. We talked, me speaking, her blinking and making sounds. I told her about my company, my fears, my loneliness. How I'd thrown myself into work because I didn't know how else to deal with her illness. She listened, responded, forgave me without words. Around 9 p.m., I was getting ready to help the night nurse put her to bed when I checked my phone. There was a message from my private investigator. Mr. Chun, found something. Call me immediately. I stepped into the hallway and called him. What did you find? Emma Martinez, he said. Died 6 years ago in a car accident. Age 28. She was a hospice nurse. And here's the strange part. Before she died, she made a wish. Her mother recorded it. She said she wished she could keep helping people even after she was gone. My blood ran cold. The woman in your house looks exactly like her, he continued. Same face, same everything. But Emma Martinez is buried in Sacramento. I checked. So either you've got a twin situation or… He didn't finish. He didn't need to. I hung up and walked back into my mother's room. She looked at me, blinked once. Yes, she knew. She'd always known. And she'd called for help from wherever help could come, even if it came from beyond death itself. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my study, laptop open, searching for everything I could find about Emma Martinez. The private investigator was right. Emma Martinez died 6 years ago. There were obituaries, news articles about the accident, photos of her funeral. And the woman in those photos was identical to the woman feeding my mother soup every day. But that was impossible, wasn't it? The next day, Emma arrived at noon, like clockwork. I was waiting in my mother's room. We need to talk, I said. Emma set down her bag calmly. All right, you died 6 years ago. She didn't deny it, just nodded. Yes. So what are you? A ghost? Something like that. Emma sat down across from me. I told you, I'm an answer. Your mother's need called me. And I came. Why my mother specifically? Because her need was pure, Emma said. She wasn't asking for herself. She was asking for you. She wanted you to see her again, to connect with her again, before it's too late. The words hit me like a truck. Before what's too late? Emma glanced at my mother, who was watching us quietly. Mrs. Chun, may I tell him? One blink. Yes. Emma turned back to me. Your mother's body is failing, David. The doctors haven't told you yet, but her kidneys are shutting down. She has maybe 3 months. Maybe less. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. What? No. She's been stable. Her body has been stable, Emma corrected. But 8 years in a wheelchair, unable to move, unable to communicate properly. It takes a toll. Her organs are tired. We can do dialysis. We can. She doesn't want that. Emma's voice was firm. She's tired, David. She's ready. But she couldn't go without making sure you'd be okay. Without making sure you understood that she loved you. That she never blamed you for the distance. I turned to my mother. Mom, is this true? One blink. Tears poured down my face. I don't want you to go. She made a sound. Her left hand moved, reaching for me. I took it and held it tight. Emma stood up. I'll give you two some privacy. I'll be back tomorrow. Wait, I said. Why are you leaving? She needs you. She doesn't need me anymore, Emma said softly. She has you now. That's all she ever wanted. And then she walked out. Emma didn't come back the next day, or the day after that. For the first week, I kept expecting her to show up, but she never did. The gate system had no record of her visits anymore. The security footage from the past 3 weeks showed only me and the regular staff. No Emma. It was like she'd never existed. But I knew she had. My mother knew she had. I took a leave of absence from work. For the next 2 months, I spent every day with my mother. I learned her blinks, her sounds, her hand movements. I learned to really listen. We talked about everything. Her childhood, her marriage to my father, raising me, her proudest moments, her regrets. I told her about my life, my fears, my dreams. Things I'd never shared with anyone. We watched movies together. I read her favorite books aloud. We looked through photo albums, and I told her stories about each picture. I hired a music therapist who came twice a week. My mother loved it. She'd move her left hand in time with the music, her eyes bright. I contacted my half-sister from my father's first marriage, someone I'd barely spoken to in years. She came to visit, brought her kids. My mother cried happy tears seeing her grandchildren. We made memories, real memories, the kind that matter. My mother died on a Tuesday morning in December. I was holding her hand. She'd been sleeping more and more over the past week, barely waking. That morning, she opened her eyes and looked at me, really looked at me, and she smiled. A full, genuine smile. The kind I remembered from my childhood. Then she squeezed my hand once. And she was gone. The funeral was small. Just close family and a few friends. As we were leaving the cemetery, I saw someone standing under a tree in the distance. A woman with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Emma. She raised her hand in a small wave. Smiled. And then she was gone. Not walking away, just gone. Like she'd never been there at all. 6 months have passed since my mother died. I still run my company, but differently now. I'm more present, more focused on what actually matters. I started a foundation in my mother's name. It provides support for families caring for disabled loved ones. Equipment, nursing care, respite services, counseling. Everything I wish I'd known about when my mother first got sick. I visit her grave every week. Bring flowers. Tell her about my life. And sometimes when I'm there, I feel a presence. Warm, peaceful, like someone is watching over me. I don't know if Emma was an angel, a ghost, or something else entirely, but I know she saved me. She reminded me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, about being present, about seeing the people in front of you and treating them like they matter. Because they do. My mother couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't live independently. But she was still a person, still my mother. Still worthy of love and attention and dignity. I just needed someone to show me that. And Emma did. Wherever she is now, whatever she is, I hope she knows how grateful I am. For 3 weeks, a ghost fed my mother soup and taught me how to love again. And I will never, ever forget that gift.